to be here. And I want to thank FUNGLODE for inviting the World Bank to be part of this initiative, to address you with our experience, to share with you what we have been experiencing at the World Bank. Actually, I'm Turkish, and when Alicia came, when we met, when she invited the World Bank, I got really excited because first of all, I'm excited to be here. You have a beautiful country. And I thought I was coming to a warm country, but obviously not indoors. You know, all the buildings that I've been are very cold, but the people are very warm. So I think the Dominicans make up for the building's cold air, and I hope I will come back here to enjoy the beautiful beaches you have, hopefully soon. FUNGLODE promotes internship culture in the Dominican Republic, and the World Bank we are really honored to be part of partnering with FUNGLODE in that noble cause. We hope that we will have future partnerships in the initiative and see where we can capitalize on our experiences moving forward. When Alicia approached the World Bank with the idea to feature our experience, we discussed this internally because the World Bank has many programs. We also have an internship, we call it internship, although it's titled program. It's not a truly managed program per se. It's more like a database that we manage. So we looked at different programs that we have, and in the end, our manager really decided for the voice secondment program to be featured at this conference because it is a very structured program. It's managed end-to-end process in the World Bank with very positive results. So it's one of the good practices that we wanted to share with you all. The presentation I will make tonight will not only highlight the importance of internship programs for capacity building and capacity enhancement, but also hopefully will bring out the critical aspects of managing such programs, such as governance, transparency, sustainability of these types of programs, just-in-time service and support that the program would provide to both the interns and the managing units in an organization. Finally, last but not the least, the monitoring and evaluation of such programs. So I will give you the voice secondment program as an example, and through that program we will talk about some of these elements as we go through. I will breeze through the presentation because I think the more value added is in the question and answer section. That I will look forward to hearing from you what I can elaborate. Just a brief overview who we are. Most of you are quite familiar, nowadays especially, very unfortunately because of the financial crisis. World Bank is in the front pages of many newspapers. We are the largest development agency in the world. We have 185 member countries, more than 10,000, actually, including consultants, we're over 12,000 staff globally in 140 locations. We have a country office here in this city as well that I'm very proud of, actually. I visited them yesterday, and I'm extremely proud of our staff here. The voice secondment program was initiated by our board in 2004 as a capacity building program. Among many other programs, as I told you earlier, including the internship program that we have, voice secondment program has a different status in the World Bank. Many organizations have such initiatives, and I think in defining the objective of the internship, you also define your target population, the modality of the internship, and the terms and conditions of the program. In this particular program, we are targeting the civil servants of our client governments. As part of capacity building needs, our board decided to launch we call it a secondment program, which is an internship for civil servants. As Alicia mentioned before, to date we have 96 participants graduated from the program, and with the current cohort on board, which is the 5th cohort, we are moving to 122 interns that we have already trained. The program has a very strong governance structure. Because it was initiated by the board, it has very high visibility, a very high profile, both internally in the World Bank and externally. And capitalizing on that high visibility, from the startup, we kept the program at a very high level in terms of its quality, its management, and its marketing. That was an intentional attempt because some other programs we have are more practical, more for need basis. There are different modalities in the World Bank. The audience that we serve are high-level civil servants. Therefore, we kept it high level internally in the management as well. There is an executive committee, which is only 3 members, that provides vision, and constantly aligns the program's mission for the World Bank's mission. There is a governing committee, which we called Global Coordination and Implementation Committee, a member, total number is 16, and the members represent all of the vice presidencies in the World Bank. This committee provides oversight to the program secretariat, basically, to me. The program secretariat is a 2-person staff, which is me and my program assistant. We are located in the human resources team under talent search and partnerships group. In the larger department, because we do external recruitment and manage all other partnership programs, our processes, the internship processes for this program is completely based on the partnership programs, and we process them in the same manner, which is almost a commodity for the World Bank. Given the structure and the high visibility, program reports to the board of directors almost annually. I go to the board, give them a brief, and then get their approval for the next future fiscal year's budget and resources. That also provides a very strong oversight over the program, both on the quality and at the results level. This slide shows you some of the implementation details. It is a 6-month program. I'm not going to go into the detail. You have the handouts and you see it on the screen. What I'd like to talk about is that because it is a capacity building program, we have mandated that participants will return to their agencies, which are mostly Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Economy in our client governments. They have to return for 2 years. So in other words, the investment we're making through this program, we want to see results for them to return and pay back in terms of the objectives of the program. So it's for me as the program coordinator, my job is to constantly remind everybody what the program objectives are and why we are doing this. This is really on-the-job learning. There are lots of different modalities that different organizations implement. We have different modalities within the World Bank ourselves. In this particular model, what we do is we bring them on board for 6 months and we assign them to operational teams. We have lots of classroom trainings. We have a World Bank Institute that provides in every sector, every field that the World Bank is involved in, classroom trainings, whether it's face-to-face or through video conferencing or through CDs. Now, with today's technology, we have all sorts of different modes to provide training. While training is great for learning, on-the-job learning provides much more in-depth provides that level of information to participants, and for them to get that practical experience, for them to be able to turn around and apply it somewhere else, wherever they take it. Because the objectives of the program is to achieve a certain knowledge target, throughout the 6 months, I have a very robust learning program for them. As a cohort, they have to complete a set of learning events, briefing events. In other words, our aim is to make them a full-fledged, effective development practitioners by the time they graduate from the program. So it is an intensive program. It's only for 6 months. While they're busy doing their work, they're also attending learning, knowledge-sharing events constantly. Almost every week we have a briefing session, and we come together and we learn from each other through those sessions. There are some other similar initiatives in the World Bank. The objectives are far narrower than this program. I'll give you a quick example. Our Poverty Reduction and Economic Management team has recently initiated a very similar program for only 3 months, only focusing on debt management. So, when you narrow your objective and shorten the term of the assignment, clearly it becomes far more easier to manage and frame the knowledge creation that you want to provide for the group that you're bringing on board. I'll just briefly touch the nomination process. The Voice Secondment program is a nomination process, is not an application process. As you well know, a lot of different programs manage different types of collecting individuals, attracting individuals for their programs. In this particular case, because we're targeting a certain audience, the board of directors had decided that it would be a nomination process, and our client governments will decide who they think best fits for the objectives of the program to send. When the process is pure nomination, there are some inherent processes that come in place. For example, there is a trust element that the nomination has taken place. Whether it's a competitive process or a non-competitive process, we would not know at the receiving end before we see the nomination forms. There are a number of forms that both the applicant and the nominating agency fills out, and these are critical because when we do the selections, we very carefully review these forms to decide who is the best matching candidate for our program objectives. Again, I'm not going to go into the process details. Well, we can discuss them if you have any questions after the presentation. The selection process is quite detailed and intensive. The governing committee is commissioned to review all the nominations, and I'm just going to elaborate on the review process because this is important for transparency. In the governing committee, 2 different members will review the nominees. One would be the same regional representative that the nomination is coming from. For example, if we have a nominee from Dominican Republic, the representative from Latin America region in the World Bank will review that nomination to see if the candidate meets our objectives. In the meantime, we will give it to another second person to review, a complete objective party who has no incentives in promoting their own regional person. And we will take an average of the 2 ratings in terms of finalizing the selections. So that transparency and that equitable process that we put in place is really critical because we leave no room for any suspicion, for any types of question marks that any process may bring into people's mind. Immediately following the selection, we move into a placement process. Placement means finding a work unit for each participant. Those of you who are managing similar programs know that this is the most challenging part of the process. I go out and call all the management team to come forward, express interest to host a participant in my program. Over the years, through building a credible program, I have also built a fan base, so to say, in the World Bank. There are a number of managers who are big fans of my program. As soon as I announce the selections, they will come line up in front of my door and will ask for someone that they want to host. But there will be a handful of my participants that I will be going around and looking for an assignment for them. And that would be a targeted search for me, that once I look at the biography of the individual, the country needs, where the skills match the best, then I target certain units and managers, and then I'll launch my promotion strategy on them, why this program is so important, why they should be hosting my participant. About 5% of my participants go to different country offices of the World Bank. The rest will remain in the headquarters. There are advantages of both. Being in an international organization, if you are an international company, you may have the same challenges. Location will become an issue. Where are they going to go? In most cases, we have capacity to host them at our headquarters, so we are lucky. I think talking about the placement, the shopping that I do, which unit will host one of my participants, I'd like to mention a couple of things. Creating that demand is really critical. This is one of the biggest challenges we have, and you all know by experience. So in that promotion, I do highlight incentives. What are the incentives for host units to take somebody for 6 months and then provide them guidance and supervision? In some units, it's been seen more like a liability than having an asset. So turning that concept around and enlightening people why it will be critical for them to host somebody. What are the advantages for them to host somebody? Where are the results? Where are the connections for them? Whether it's knowledge, skills, networking opportunities, because these people come with country knowledge. They have their own networks. Those are really critical elements in the marketing part of the program management. One other important part is those who come forward and host an intern, they need to be recognized. There needs to be a recognition and award system in the organization for their extra effort, because these people are the ones that are taking the extra mile to give the energy and commitment in that implementation. So those are some of the tools that we use in creating that incentive structure for the program's implementation. You all know how difficult it is to integrate professionally and socially, especially if you're going into a whole new country, whole new city. If someone is coming to your city from a different place, they're out of their initial circles, they're in a whole new professional environment, which naturally creates a level of anxiety in anyone. So it's critical that in the implementation we provide sufficient support for the interns for their integration. In the World Bank, how we do this is for the host units that are managing the assignments, in addition to the manager, we request the host units to identify a mentor, a sponsor, to provide day-to-day technical support to our interns. It not only divides the volume of constantly providing supervision to a newcomer to the organization, but it also provides a moral support, a technical support for the intern as well. So it's really the sponsor, the mentor that is assigned is to go-to person in the organization when they have everyday questions, where the manager really focuses on the assignment and the results of that assignment. They will be constantly given feedback to the intern on the task that is delivered and how the development is going and whether there needs to be an adjustment made. On the social side, integration is a problem. We are an international organization, and all our interns come from all over the globe, from around the world. So there is a cultural adjustment that they go through. So what we do, we look for a same nationality individual in our organization to volunteer to foster the individual outside the World Bank. I call it the real world. So when they need to know where to go for shopping, I know most everything in Washington, D.C. I've been living there for 15 years, but I really don't know where to buy that little spice that you have to put in your national dish when you're cooking it at home. So those types of little things make such a big difference in their social integration that support needs to be there constantly. And this is what I'm really proud of the World Bank. We have such generous staff. Whenever I send out the communication to our staff, whether they want to volunteer, we get multiple requests that more than one person would like to volunteer to foster the person. It's really a critical element. The program also funds one operational travel as part of their work program, and we do this because these types of trips really reinforces the teamwork that they're in and also increases their learning. The program secretariat, from the start, both me and my assistant will give a message out to our participants that we are their family. They truly believe that I'm the mother and my assistant is their bigger or younger sister, depending on their age group. And they run to us for anything that they need to. It's not easy to be there for a group of 26, 28 participants. They come as a cohort in my program. But it's well worth it because that level of trust when they have in you, they feel much more comfortable. And I can easily follow up on their progress, that they come to me if they have a problem. They know that my door is open. They feel very, very comfortable. They can call me at any time, 24/7, on my cell phone, that if there's an emergency, if there's a professional or a personal need, that they can come to me. For all internships, sustainability and public relations is really critical. Actually, they go hand in hand. We do a lot of things for program sustainability, obviously, but positive public relations and outreach communication strategy also reinforces the sustainability of the program. In doing so, I reach out both internally and externally, giving the stories out. What does these assignments do? Who are these people? What happens when they return? Those results linkages are really critical for the internal audience. And in this particular case, the internal audience is more critical for my program because the external audience is I already have their buy-in. There's a very strong demand out there from external parties. I need to level that demand internally as well, so I put more effort into the internal communication side, giving our World Bank staff the story of the voice secondii and what their assignment is all about. The best public relation marketing is successful assignments. Those managers, the fan base that I have built over the 4 years are through successful assignments. And in order to ensure an assignment is successful, I monitor very closely. I'll talk about monitoring and evaluation in a minute, but I'm very closely in touch with the managers. I get feedback from them. We adjust the assignments as we go. If they detect any problems, I will address them. So creating, again, that trust level with the host units is really critical. I do a lot of briefing sessions. All stakeholders involved in the program will receive a briefing, especially before the assignment starts. I brief managers, sponsors, all trainers that we bring on board to train our participants receive briefings. So it's a lot of time dedicated for that process, but it's well worth it. And in all honesty, I, as the program secretariat, feel that I need more time. I just have too much work that, I run out of time doing that solely. But that can be a full-time job within itself, as you all know very well. Oh, is this the network? Let me see. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Creating a network is also critical. When I first started the program 4 years ago, we started with 16 participants as a pilot. And as of the second cohort, we moved to 25, and it's been steady. We generally have 25, 28 individuals come on board. But as the population grew, it was very obvious that after the first cohort, that training, learning, capacity building cannot be a one-time intervention. It has to be continuous. Knowledge is infinite. It moves with time. It changes. It needs updates. So creating a network is critical. What happens is, because they come on board as cohorts, the group itself, each group has a very close relationship with each other among themselves, but somehow creating cross-fertilization across different groups, people that come on board different times to the same program, is really critical. So for that effort, we created an e-platform, which is a typical blogging web base. And this is also a place where I put all my announcements and postings. So it's an information kiosk for all voice secondees, regardless of the time that they were on board, to come, meet, discuss issues. They all have common issues. One would pause a question and they will start a discussion among themselves. That knowledge sharing, as they discuss, I will bring in World Bank experts to comment on their discussions. So the knowledge sharing is a continuous effort, and the community stays intact, which is really reinforces the program objectives. We also update we update our web pages, but if you go to World Bank's web page today, my program is not there, unfortunately, because it's under maintenance. They're doing maintenance, so maybe I shouldn't say that right now. This slide is just to give you an idea on the funding side. Resources matter. That's where we face the most difficulty. All organizations have resource constraints, so you have to prioritize where you're going to spend your money. But at the same time, you have to provide incentives to both the releasing agencies and the host units internally who will be managing the assignments. So in this modality, the program pays all participant costs. The releasing agencies only pay their salaries because they continue to be their employees. And the host units pay only a fraction of the cost, which is like office space and all that. So it is really almost a free resource for host units, which is one of the biggest incentives that we're able to sell. On the administrative arrangements, we, the program secretariat, manage all logistics. And that's also another incentive for host units, because as you all know, when it's time to bring somebody on board, a lot of the managers shy away from, oh, I don't want to deal with their housing and their travel and all that logistics. And we say, oh, you don't need to worry about that because we're taking care of it. That's another incentive for host units. But also, there are economies of scale that we achieve by bringing a cohort in, a group, because when I make housing arrangements, I can get real good discounts when I negotiate for a large group. When we do bookings, we do it in bulk, so we can do it much easier than anybody else is doing it individually. If we were expecting the World Bank units to do this individually, it would be far more resource-consuming effort, obviously. So we do capitalize on the cohort approach that we have for this particular program. There are other programs in the World Bank that are roll-on basis, that participants come on board at any given time throughout the year. So they have a whole different setup in managing those programs, although following similar processes that we do. Last but not least, another critical element is monitoring and evaluation. We should be able to report on how we're doing, what progress we're achieving. Are we achieving the objectives of this program? How far have we been? What are the lessons learned? What improvements we have implemented through those learnings? Information sharing the results are really critical in gaining support both internally and externally for the sustainability of the program and also for the marketability of the program. The program, Voice Secondment program, has very high ratings. It's one of the highest rated programs in the World Bank with satisfaction rates exceeding 90%. And in that, I always emphasize the impact. I have a very robust monitoring and evaluation system. I constantly conduct surveys. At the end of the assignment, the participant and the manager will receive a survey from an independent party, not from me. They need to trust the system that they can give candid feedback to a third party, including about my performance in the process. And more importantly, post-assignment, 9 months after their return, I do the surveys to measure whether we are achieving the objectives of the program. Why are these important? Because I can go to the board and report to them what has happened. For the reasons that this program was implemented, whether we are achieving them or not. There are, of course, challenges. My participants are civil servants. They are in an environment that they face rotation and attrition. And of course, this training that they receive at the World Bank increases their marketability. I openly discuss with them at their exit briefing that they owe to the World Bank and to their home agencies that 2 years. But after 2 years, about 5% of them go to other international organizations. I have 2 alumni hired by the World Bank. And I was in this difficult position arguing, well, maybe you can't hire that person, but 2 years is over. Okay, maybe you can, kind of discussion goes on. The ratios are not too high, luckily, but it's a relatively new, young program. So over time, we will see more attrition and more rotation among these people. So that tracking is really important. There are other internship programs that no tracking is necessary. You're bringing in students, you want to build capacity, build knowledge on a specific area, then you can release them. In some cases, they do surveys to see where they ended up, whether they're using the knowledge, if it was effective. But overall, again, it all depends on the needs, on the modality, on the objectives of the program that you're managing. And the final slide is my contacts. If you If you go home tonight and suddenly a question appears in your mind, it always happens to me at 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm sure it happens to you too. You wake up and say, oh, I should have asked that question. Send me an email. I'll be more than happy to communicate with you and hear more from you about your experiences, and maybe we can form our own network to exchange information and knowledge about how to implement internships. Thank you very much.